afternoon, students. In this video you will learn how we can do the context mapping in Dynpro components or in Dynpro applications. So in this application I will create the two input boxes in which the user can enter the first name and last name of a person, and that we will do with the help of context mapping. So you will also learn in this video what is the context, what is the context node, what is the context root node, what are the elements, what are the attributes, and how we can do the context mapping. So let us start. First of all, go to SAP for creating the Dynpro components. So after opening SAP, we need to create Dynpro component. So we are going to create new Dynpro component, and this is our jet new. Press enter. It will ask you to create the object. If it is not there, if it is already exists, you can create the new one. So jet new one, and then press enter. So it will asking the creating the object, create object, press yes. Then it will ask the name of the project and then description. So this is our simple Dynpro component, and the window name we can give. So this may be our main window, main underscore window, and the view may be the main underscore view. Press the OK button. So when you will create this Dynpro component, it basically creates three main components, as I already discussed. The first one is component controller, second is view, and third one is windows. A window contains the number of views, or these views may sometimes call a web pages that you want to going to create, and this view is generally used to represent the UI elements, user interface elements. Now we need to select the package name. So this is our package. In my case I am using the temporary package. Click on the save button. It will store your components, Dynpro component, into the package that we have provided here. So after creating the Dynpro components, you can see we have three main components. The first one is component controller, second is view, and third one is windows. In this view you can see this is our main underscore view, and in window you can see this is main underscore window is there. So each component, so here I want to discuss about the context, and each of the controller of that means component controller, each of the view controller or window controller contains the context node. So when you double click on this component controller, it will show you the context. So you can see this is a component controller context, and this generally context is refers to the single hierarchical data storage structure which is assigned to every Dynpro controller. Every Dynpro controller means that is easily assigned to the view controller, it is assigned to the window controller, and the data generally is held in this context during the your lifespan of the controller, and this data will be lost with the termination of the controller instance. So this is the context node, which is an important node, and you can change or the context by selecting the particular controller. For example, when we have double click on it, you can see there is a tab context. When you will click on this context tab, it will show you the main context node. Similarly, if you want to see the context of this view, just click on this, double click on the view. Just I want to give here the username, so in my case is BC user. So you can see there is a tab context, This is the context of this main underscore view. Similarly, for the window, double click on this window part, main underscore window, and you can also see the context. So every controller of this web Dynpro components contains the context node. So I'm just going to the component controller context node. Now suppose if you want to create a particular node and element, just right click on this your create, and then node and attribute you can create from this one. So first of all we need to go for the editable mode, just change the mode. So after changing the mode, just right click on this context and you can create the particular node as well as attribute. So I'm just going to create here the node, the first one node, that is your create node here, and you can give the node name. So in my case I am just going to give the node name is full name, full underscore name. So interface node we have not selected. You can also select the dictionary structure, that is you can also select the table here. Just click on this OK button. So you have created the node here. In this node, just right click on it. You can set the attributes. Just click on the create and then attributes. So in this case, attribute name, I'm just giving here the first name and last name. So this is our first name, first underscore name, and we need to specify the type here. The type will be string. Now click. Similarly, right click, create and then attribute, and this is our first name and last underscore name. Type will be string. So we have created here the nodes here. So here I want to just discuss about this context as well as context node and their attributes. So this is called context node, context root node, that is called context root node, which is always present with each of the controller of the web Dynpro components. So this full name is our context node, and in this context node we have the attributes of this node, and two attributes are there, first name and last name. And these node and attributes constitutes a hierarchical arrangement of the entities from which all the controller contexts are constructed, and the parent node of this context node is always the context root node. So this is the context root node and this is the context node, and these are the context attributes. Okay, now click on the save button. Then just right click on your main web Dynpro component and you can check the syntax. No error found. Now you can activate it. So just right click on it and then activate it. It is in a editing mode, so just close it and make it in a non-changeable mode, non-editing mode. Then right click on it and then activate it. So when you double click on this first underscore name, so you can also set the attributes from this one. So as you can see, we have already two attributes which is predefined, wd underscore context and wd underscore this. So now we are going to creating the context node of this main underscore view. Just double click on it and click on this show and hide layout preview, make it in a changeable mode. Just click on the context button, context tab, and you can see this is our component controller, which is common to all of the controllers. So this is a component controller in which we have already the root node of this component controller context, and this is your full name. Full name is our context node in which we have the two attributes. So you can just double click on this full name, you can see that, and now just you need to uh, drag drop here. So just use this first name, your full name, just drag drop onto this context, root context node of the main view. So this is main. So this is called mapping. This is first name and this is last name. Now go to the layout tab page. In this tab page, go to the root UI element controller, just right click on it and click on the insert button, and we are going to give the label here, first underscore name, and the type will be your, because it is a label here, so you can take it a label, just select it label and then press OK. So in this label you can select the properties here, just first name, and you can give the label for and the text here. So we are going to label for, you just select the root UI element, and then text you can also give. So this is our first name, this is first name. Now click on the save button. Similarly you can also create the another label. So this is first name, and then right click on this root UI element and create insert element. Now we are going to input box. So this is input, and then select the type here, and the type will be your input field. Just select input field, then press OK. So now we need to select here for the, because we will get the data from the users, so we need to set the property here, and you can select the value from here because you will get data. So for this is the first name, so we are going to mapping this one main underscore view first name, and this data will pass directly to the component controller context node. So similarly just right click on root UI element and then insert element. So this is our second name, last name, this is last name, and last underscore name, and the type is label. Just click on it. So just going to give the last name here. So this is a label for, just select it, and we are giving the node for the input, and we are going to select as a root UI element. So just go there and give the text here. So this will be your last name. Click on the save button. Now we are going to create second input field for the last name. So just right click on the root UI element and then insert. So this is our input, because we are going to take the second input. So input underscore 2, we need to select here input field, and press OK. We need to bind it with the context node, context attribute. So value will be saved directly to the last name. So just select it and then so this is the first name and this is last name. Click on the save button and check for the errors. Just make it in a disable mode. And then right click on it and check for the syntax. So we need to give the tooltip or label which is not set for the input, so we need to this one, but these are kind of information. This is not the error. Just right click on it and then activate it. Now we need to create the application. Just right click on it and then create web Dynpro application. This is our application. So this is our new one application. Then press OK. Click on the save button. So it will open the web browser. If it asks the logon, just go to the logon. Give the username this user, then ABCD1234 and then press OK. So it will show you the web page on which we have created the two labels, the first name and last name. And first name to corresponding we have input. This is first name and this is our last name. So in this case, when you will give some input, it will store directly data to the context node attributes. So this is Ajay, and in the case of last name, so this is Dureja. When the application is running, at that time the data will be stored into the context attributes, and when you will close it directly, so the data will be vanished from it. So one more thing that I want to tell you, in case of this application, you can arrange your UI elements like the first name, last name. You can see which are showing in the horizontal pattern. You can change this pattern, this first name, so this last name should become in the next row. So how we can do that? With the help of a property, just go back and double click on this main underscore view, make it in changeable mode. So just select this first name or last name. Suppose last name you just select. Okay, so just click the root UI controller. After clicking root UI controller, you can change out the layout, flow layout, grid layout. Suppose we are going to the row layout, so it will send you in a particular row. Now click on the save button. So now it has been set your elements as a row wise. Okay, so these are set with the right click on this main project, check for the syntax. So it is showing some information that you can also set the tooltip. Just right click on it and then activate it. It is in editing mode. Just disable this editing mode. Just right click on it and then activate it. Go to web Dynpro application, just double click on it, you can check it, then exit. So you can see that the difference in the previous web page. It was showing the first name and then just right after that that was the input field, but there is some spacing there. So you can change this your layout of this your main web page. So just click on it again and go to the in the changeable mode. Again select the root UI element. You can see also that just select the UI element, and you can also change here the again the layout, flow layout, grid layout, matrix layout. So suppose if you're going to select this grid layout, you can see it will show you some other changes like this one. So just again go to the in disable mode, and again right click on the main component and then activate it, and then OK. Go to the web Dynpro application, just double click on it, check for the error and then execute it. So there are number of layout that you can use for arranging your UI elements onto the web page. So you can see this is the first name and then last name and like so it is showing. So this was all about for creating the context and how we can create the context node and then attributes of this context node. Apart from that, you can see in this context menu and in this context you can also set the cardinalities, that is properties of this context root node. You can see this is a full name. In this full name we have the two attributes which is binding to our common component controller. So this is called context mapping. Apart from that, when you are going to create the particular context node as well as your attributes of the particular node, suppose this is a node and suppose we right click on it and then create. So make it in a changeable mode or create node. Suppose the another node is our address. Select address and then you can also set the cardinalities. So this is an important part, and the cardinalities, there are node collection cardinalities are there. So 0 to 1, 0 or 1 element is permitted. So you can create only 0 to 1 element you can create in this particular node. If you select 0 to n, 0 to n means that means any number of 0 or more element permitted, or if you are selecting 1 to 1, that means exactly one element is permitted. Similarly, 1 or more element permitted, that is 1 to n. So these cardinality you can also set. The cardinality is generally the property of the every context node. This property defines the maximum and minimum number of elements that the node collection can hold at the runtime. So therefore the cardinality comprises two values, the lower limit, so this is the lower limit as well as the upper limit. So in this case the lower limit is 1 and upper limit is 1. In this case 0 is the lower limit and upper limit is n. So this was your cardinality property you can set. Now press the OK button. So this is an address. This is the address context node. You can create the attribute here. Just right click on it. Then you can create node. You can also create using the wizard. Okay. So just create particular attribute here. So just click on this attribute. Suppose the name address contains your city. So this is our city, and this is a type assignment, and the city is generally string type. So you can take here the type is string, and then input help mode is automatic. Just click on the OK button. Similarly, you can also create the another attribute of this address node. Just right click on it and then create and then attribute. So in this attribute I am going to give here the street number. Just select the street number and then you can give the type here. So you can give here the integer type and then click on the street number must not contain any blank, so we need to here's a street underscore number. Just use here the street underscore number, and the type you have to specify the particular type, and so we have created the two other attributes of this node. Now click on the save button. So now go back to the main underscore view and select the context. Now you can see this is the view, main view, in which the only one context and one context node is full name, and you can see this is a component controller which is common to all the controllers. So full name and address it is showing. If you want to map using context mapping, so context mapping generally allow a controller to access the data that was pre-processed by some other controller, and you can just drag and drop the context node to the target node. The map node then appears as a child node. So just you can select it here and then drag and drop on this context node. Do you want to copy and map address? Yes, click on the yes, so it will map your address. See, the context node that acts as a data source is mapping. This is called mapping origin node, whereas the context node that is mapped is called map node. So you can view the mapping path in the property of the node, and view controller is always the receiver. So view controller will be always as the receiver, and this component controller will always be act as a sender. So this is a mapping origin node, and this is a map node. So we have mapping mapped here. Just click on the save button. Similarly, you can create the label and then other one also, and then click and execute, and then you can use that. So this is called context mapping. So thank you so much for watching my videos. If you really like my videos, please press like button and subscribe to my channel.